LSD can be extremely powerful.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's enough to break people. It was used to break people. It was used from. They never succeeded in mind control, but they did manage to. I think there was a quote even. He said, "We were trying to do two things. We were trying to shatter the mind. We were trying to empty out your mind, and number two, replace it, the void with something." And he's like, "We didn't get very far in number two, but we got very good at number one."
All right, what up, you guys? I'm Bryson Smith.
And I'm Javin. And this is Etcetera. Yes! Fantastic. We're in this.
There it is.
We have a returning guest.
Right.
Isaac.
Wait, hold up before we talk about Isaac. Yeah. We always gotta let the people know to like and subscribe to the channel and support us.
Like us, subscribe to us, comment. We genuinely enjoy and read all of your comments. I've enjoyed them. I need to respond to one of them today.
Join the cult.
Join the cult.
Yeah.
Join our cult.
So today's topic is going to be about essentially. So we're gonna be talking about psychedelics again, but this time from a negative side. Because the first time we did a video with Isaac, we spoke about the positive things of it, and now we're gonna be talking about essentially the horror story things of it.
Psychedelics.
So yeah, right off the back, Isaac. So what have you personally experienced as far this whole aesthetic with the whole glasses? Anyways, yeah, what have you experienced with psychedelics that have negatively affected you, or if you've even experienced that?
I mean, personally, I haven't had any like bad trips per se.
No.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's
Not
actually really
once.
surprising. I mean, personally, whenever I go into one of those experiences, whenever I delve in, it's a journey. It's like a roller coaster. It's never, either all good or all bad. But I will say, I have had those anxiety-filled portions of time. I've had times that didn't feel too ideal, but I have never really had a bad trip per se. With that being said, I have heard of other individuals that have had bad trips.
That's crazy to me because I have had. Listen, I feel like I just cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have had many psychedelic trips that have just. Okay, so my first marijuana is a psychedelic, right?
Yeah, definitely.
See, I don't do drugs. No, I don't do drugs.
Psychoactive, at least.
Yeah, so it was like one of the first times I've ever gotten high off marijuana. This is a true story. So I was in high school. I want to say I was a sophomore, right? And I was smoking weed. I was hanging out with this dude named Jordan Mejia. You probably you remember who that is.
I actually don't.
Okay, never
sounds
mind.
Like a cool
we went to
dude.
the same high school. Anyways, he's actually. Anyways, yeah. So I went to his house, right? And he bought this weed that he got from actually Alonzo.
Oh, okay.
Alonzo's a guest I've had on our channel.
Shout out to homie.
Oh, yeah, shout out to Alonzo. I don't know if it was from Alonzo, but it was definitely from his group of friends because they had a group of friends and they went by the Gnomes. At this time, I don't know if they went by that. Anywho, so he bought this weed from them and they were pretty much known in my eyes and Jordan's eyes for having really good weed, right? And so we ended up smoking this weed that was laced with PCP.
Holy
Didn't know that at
shit.
the time, right? And I remember it was like late at night. I went over to his house and we were smoking behind a car and we were just like, like we smoked the whole blunt and then I was just getting really, really, really high, right?
Shit.
And right after we got really, really high, we went into his house and he's like, all right, let's go to sleep. And he had like 2 beds in his room, which is weird. I don't know why. On different sides of the room. And so we went into the room and I laid on one bed and he laid on the other and he just turned off the light. And I was like, just laying there. I'm just kind of tripping. I'm like, why did we just get extremely high and now we're just going to bed? I thought it was weird as hell.
So how did you guys find out it was laced with PCP?
Oh, because he said it after.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
like I
damn.
found out this information after. I'm like, oh shit, like I'm on drugs.
He's like, yeah, you're smoking PCP.
So listen to this. So as I'm laying down, right?
Is that CBD?
Yeah.
Nah, bro, PCP.
As I'm laying down, right? I'm like, I forget to breathe.
No
I can't
way.
breathe anymore. Like I'm like, things are getting weird. I'm like, I start freaking out and he turns on his light and he's just looking at me. I'm like, yo, like I was tripping out. And then I started having an anxiety attack while I was extremely high. And so now I'm having a panic attack.
Holy shit.
My heart is pounding. So I'm screaming out throughout the house late at night. It's like 12 at night.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
His uncle, I remember his uncle was
It's
like,
that maybe.
was like walking down the hallway, like trying to figure out what was going on. And I remember I was trying to open up the door to leave the house and I couldn't leave. And I was like, let me out, Jordan, let me out. I need to leave. And he was just staring at me, like as I was screaming. And then he was like, he moved my hand and then he just unlocked the door. And then and I was like, so I was walking down the street in my underwear, like on some like drug addict type shit. I'm in my drawers walking down the middle of a street late at night trying to. I remember everything felt like a loop. So I was walking down a neighborhood, right, and it felt like I just kept repeating this neighborhood.
Oh my God.
It was really. I remember praying to God. I was like, I'll never smoke weed again. I mean, he already knew I was gonna do it.
The devil's lettuce.
Yeah, so
he still did you a solid.
Yeah, that was just like that's why I have a hard time smoking weed till this day, because that anxiety attack when I was that high, it really played a trick, like a toll on my psyche.
No, yeah, that's good. You know you're fucked up too if you can't figure out how to open a door. So,
not only that, I was walking.
That's you're like, holy shit, this fucking, what is this?
I was walking down the street in my drawers.
Yeah, no.
Amazing.
So now that you mentioned
it wasn't amazing, Javin.
Well,
fucking
I
best
thought
experience of my life.
kind of 10 would do again.
Yelp it.
So that's interesting. Oh my God, you had a bad trip.
I know, very bad. But that goes
That's
into
fucking horrible.
what we're talking about. Psychedelics can do that to you. I mean, they did it to me, and that messed me up till this day.
I'm unfamiliar with
I was
PCP.
like, what, 15 then? I'm 26 now.
It's
and
still scarred you.
It still F's with me.
Some nights he wakes up and he's sweating. He's like, no,
It's not that
PCP.
bad, but yeah, I was definitely.
No, okay. Now that you mention it, actually, I have had one bad experience. It wasn't with psychedelics, like the general ones. It was more with So you guys remember when spice was a thing, when like everybody would be smoking spice and shit?
Isaac,
No.
I don't even know what that is.
No, I never was into it. So spice is basically like a synthetic. It's usually made from like marshmallow leaves, and then they spray a synthetic cannabinoid. Yeah, and basically it's like synthetic weed and shit. It's sold legally as incense, not for human consumption and shit. It was really popular in like 2012 era. Around then, but I never got into it. But one time I did smoke spice, and I remember it was really weird because like I was at like this kickback party thing. I was already kind of faded too, which probably wasn't good. But funny as fuck, I like took a hit. It felt like time froze for a little bit, and like I just like felt like everything around me was moving in like slow motion and shit. And then like I went into. All right, shout out to homie Andrea. I went into her kitchen, grabbed a gallon of milk. That's how fucked up I was. And I like locked myself in the bathroom, and I was like, if I chug enough milk, I'll feel better. I'll feel better. And all I remember is being in the bathroom for like a good 15 minutes, and I hear that fucking song by Skrillex and A$AP Rocky. Wow,
I like that
night,
song.
fuck being polite.
That definitely had to have been 2012.
And I was just like, holy shit, I'm fucking like tripping. I'm like, everything's like moving. And I'm not sure it was looking like it was slow motion. It was more like, I had like trace. You guys know how like tracers look? Yeah. And like for a second, I did feel like I could not like all the stimulus. Basically, I could not process it and shit. And like, but like, I mean, other than that, honestly, that's probably been the only negative experience. And even that lasted like 15 minutes, and then after I was back out there, I was kind of stupid. I was like, I was like getting more fucked up and like fucking. I probably hit it again. I don't remember. It was a while ago.
Wow.
But yeah, after that, that's the only bad experience. But I've never had that with like any like normal psychedelics, like with like mushrooms or LSD or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
What about you, Javin?
I've never had a bad trip. I've never.
Are you guys kidding me? We really doing this video, and I'm the one. I'm the one who has the worst.
We'll talk about.
to be fair,
bad.
that was
trip.
PCP,
That
dog.
It was laced.
It's like this one time I smoked.
I've never done anything that crazy.
Yeah.
But one time I did do
I don't even remember.
acid, and I went to a friend's house, and well, it wasn't even my friend. It was a complete stranger. This was the
Sounds beautiful.
weirdest experience. No, that's exactly what it was. It wasn't a bad
Is
trip.
acid
It
a
was
psychedelic though?
It's LSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, lysergic
Okay,
acid
yeah.
diethylamide.
Okay.
I went to this house, but it was like, okay, so from the outside, it was I was high as shit.
That's
And
dope.
this outside house, I was like, okay, it's just some house in some populated area. It was just nice. I think it was in Redlands. We went, then you go inside, and like it's like this old fairy mansion house. Like there are floorboards. There's all these like trinkets, African masks on the wall.
Why am I thinking of like
fucking
Willy
Tesla
Wonka
coil.
type shit?
I was thinking
It's
of
Willy
that.
Wonka
what
type
I'm
shit.
thinking, like,
Honestly, it was.
Willy
It was
Wonka.
and the rooms all melted into one another. They were like, it was all one room, but different sections. I
Gotcha.
can't even describe to you how magical it was. And there's just these different people I've never met in my
It's like
fucking
in a crack
life.
house or something.
It's like a magic crack house.
Wait.
Except these people are anthropologists, so like that's why they had stuff from all
But this
over the world.
almost sounds like was a good trip. This isn't.
Okay, so it was a good trip, but understand how fucking high I was. I was so
I got
high,
you.
and then this is happening, and I'm like, did I just move to a different world? Like, am I tripping really bad right now?
Wait, what were you
Like
on
going-
again?
Huh? LSD. I
Oh,
was
okay,
on
okay.
LSD.
Which drug were you on?
I went, so then we go upstairs, and it was so jarring to see, like, there was a TV, and in the midst of all this, like, magic, there's just some normal modern house appliance, just like this TV, and that was really tripping me out. I'm like, why
This does not belong here.
why do fairies need TVs? I don't understand.
Fairies. He was a fairy.
I was a fairy man. And then a bunch of strangers in Victorian outfits because they just came from a play. But I was
trippy as hell, Jeff.
trippy as fuck.
You
They
just-
just came in
Even
and they're like,
without drugs, I would
People
have
that
like,
look
what
like
the fuck
this.
is going on?
they came in and they were like, we're gonna play apples to apples. And I'm like,
What's
okay.
that? Wait, what is
People
that?
from the past. It's a board game. That. Oh shit. Sorry, my phone's going. It was really trippy. It was just so trippy. It was a really trippy experience. And these
sounds
people
trippy.
were talking to me, and they were talking like in their accents because they just came from a play, and they were talking to each other. But I was high as
Probably a
shit.
good show.
These
So-
people were like from the past. I
Right.
was like, what is?
I guess what we're trying to say here is that when you're gonna be doing drugs, specifically psychedelics,
Go somewhere cool.
Yeah, because it can get. It can
I was
get
gonna
real.
say you should probably do it in an environment, a protective environment, one that you feel comfortable in, and obviously be around people that are gonna take care of you. Because for my story, like I definitely didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number
He
one
opened
thing I
the
would
door
say
for me to
personally.
just wander out onto Earth in my underwear.
That's gnarly.
It's not
bro.
amazing.
You need some.
I think that's
like
I'm not doing
something-
drugs with that person.
That's
ever.
like
That's all.
something you would see on film.
No, yeah.
No,
honestly.
literally. Like if that.
But it was
happens
my
to me-
life, damn it.
No, if I'm
Your
doing
life is
drugs
at
with the
risk.
person and that happens and they don't at least try to stop me from going out on the street in my underwear, like I'm sorry, but I'm not taking any drugs with this person ever again.
I
I'm
never
just saying-
did again.
Yeah, like literally. But well, all right. Honestly, I would have stopped with the PCP also. Yeah.
Maybe not
That-
PCP.
That wasn't conscious,
on
by the way. That
principle.
was like
No, no, no.
information from like if I'd have known that.
I would have been low key kind of mad. I would have been like, "Yo, I'm not prepared for this journey you just took me on, and I'm out here doing some crazy shit." But honestly, bro, it sounds like you handled it like.
You handled it.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
well.
like you're alive, bro. I mean, you did walk out on your underwear. I feel like I've done that
was on
when
drugs.
I was just like fucked up on alcohol. Just like I feel like I've done dumb shit like on less intense stuff. So you know
Is-
what?
Is alcohol a psychedelic?
It's
Alcohol is not a
It's a
psychedelic.
depressant.
It's not
or
a
something?
depressant, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So I want to talk about some really, 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 really bad trips that we were talking about. You want to be surrounded by people who will take care of you, and you want to be in a good environment where you're not. So let's talk about the exact opposite of that. So the U.S. government conducted a series of experiments
Quotation.
on human. It wasn't science. It was really fucking stupid, and they ruined a lot of lives. They did a bunch of experiments under this operation called MK Ultra, and
right.
as well as Project
Is there a
Artichoke.
button
And
for that? No, wait. Never mind, guys.
yeah,
Fail.
MK Ultra's funny shit. No, it's this one.
There we go.
So
That's always the one.
dude, it's genuinely horrific. It's a horror story. It's an actual horror story. They drug their own employees, but like everyone knew that was a thing that could happen. They're like, yep, sometimes you might just get drugged by your boss.
And everyone was
Today's my
comfortable
day.
with
Let's
this.
go. Cross
No,
your
they weren't
fingers.
comfortable with it. They were like, this is fucked up.
Hey
But
man,
they
sounds like
kept
Russian roulette with drugs, man.
they
Not just
one
relay.
guy jumped out of a window and he killed himself.
Okay,
because he
more
went
like Russian
fucking
relay.
crazy. That's more like Russian roulette.
Wow.
Another guy ran out. I think he was like going fucking manic, and he thought all the cars around him were monsters, and he kept running and screaming. People, the U.S. government, CIA, conducted these experiments, and they were sanctioned by multiple other. And The point is, they invited Nazis in to lecture.
Wow.
That was the first thing they did. That was one of the first things they did. They got Nazis to lecture them on how long it takes people to die from poisonous gas, how to torture. Why?
That just sounds like
why
anxiety.
did they do all of this? No, it was. It is. They were scared of the Soviet Union because they thought the Soviet Union found a drug that could do mind control on people. And they wanted to create their own mind control. And so they conducted human experiments on American citizens offshore. Like they did this. The Canadian government got involved and funded some of these programs.
That's fucking wild.
Canadians really dropped the fucking ball. We only found out about that in 1984.
It's kind of recent.
Yeah. No, dude, this had been going on for decades.
Wow.
And we found out there was a hearing about it in 1977.
That's fucking crazy.
That is crazy.
Like I've heard rumors.
I think of like Shutter Island vibes and JoJo Rabbit vibes,
you're
like,
not even
all those things.
You're not even wrong. You are incredibly
literally
accurate.
it.
So, what I just kind of wanted to say was, LSD psychedelics can be extremely helpful, but I just want to address the severity upon which you can use them to destroy lives. There's a man named Whitey Bulger. He was a prisoner, a felon.
Oh, I think I know about him.
Yeah, he did a lot. I think he did like racketeering.
Wait, was he like the crazy ass dude? He killed all the people or something? Well, there's a lot of those.
He might have killed people.
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I'm sorry.
He did a lot. I think he might have even been a hitman. I'm just I'll put sources down. He was experimented on. He was given LSD for every single day for long periods of time, and he thought he was going insane. He thought like people were telling him that he was going insane, and he only found out about it late in his life, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
This just popped into my mind. The Netflix series Ratchet.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. There's a scene where there's this doctor and this child, right? And the doctor is trying to help the child because he was sick. He had some weird sexual desires to inflict pain on people. And anyways, the doctor came to the conclusion that the way that he can help this child is through LSD, right? And he gave him like he offered the child some water, right? There was 2 cups of water, one for the doctor, one for the student. And the doctor put a few drips of LSD into his water. Then as he turned around to grab something, the child poured all the LSD into his water.
What?
So when the doctor drank his water,
holy shit!
And it was a high dose. It was an extremely high dose of LSD that he took.
Holy crap!
He was going crazy.
Yeah, don't do obscene amount. Okay, so if you do obscene amounts of LSD,
Pause.
you won't die.
I want to finish the thought.
Oh no, go for it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Major spoiler alert. Well, not really major. It's kind of major. Anyways, so after he does this huge dose of LSD. What he saw, and it was crazy. They ended up cutting off the child's arms and legs.
What the fuck?
Trippy shit. Continue, Javin.
He lost his license after that.
I need to watch the show.
It's a great show.
I know.
I recommend Ratchet. It was really good. I binge watched it.
There's so much.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. Don't do obscene amounts of LSD.
Don't cut people's limbs off either.
On policy.
Be a good person.
Unless you know how to and why you should. Hippocratic oath, you got it. Point is, if you do a lot, actually you won't die. LSD won't kill you if you do it in obscene amounts.
He didn't die. It was just a lot to take in. He was like
crazy. Yeah. It won't even be permanent necessarily. What is permanent damage is when the CIA tortures and psychologically destroys your mind with drug. This is a powerful drug. I really want to impress upon everyone that LSD, while it's incredibly helpful, and I do recommend it for certain kinds of people under certain situations, the situations you should look out for are the extreme ones. Don't put yourself in a situation while you're on LSD or any psychoactive drug where you are not sure you're safe, you're not sure that you can feel okay, because they ruined a lot of lives. They really fucked a lot of people up because their brains were on fucking nitro the whole time.
Isn't there a Netflix series that talks about LSD? That it was like a documentary thing that came out recently. What was it called?
I know. I've seen.
I remember like
Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. That's a really good show. Actually,
like
they talk about like a bunch of different psychedelics.
I don't know if it was that, but I remember seeing like Anthony Bourdain was on there. A$AP Rocky was on there. Like celebrities were on.
Psychedelics Explained.
Right. Yeah. If you guys know what I'm talking about, please write it down in the comments. But yeah, they were just talking about their experiences with LSD, and I remember Anthony Bourdain. For those of you guys who don't know, he was like really huge on the Travel Channel. He would travel the world and eat a lot of food, and he wrote a book. But he was talking. I remember hearing him talk about LSD and how he liked it and how it could like help with people being creative and whatnot.
Right,
He ended up
it has
killing
good
himself.
uses. There's two things though. Like, all right, one is taking any psychedelic without being aware that you're like ingesting that. Like, it's like imagining you're just used to living your life like normally, and all of a sudden, like
That's an
everything's
actual-
like distorted, and like your thought, you can't like put thoughts together and shit like that.
That's a horror
So
story.
yeah, literally, like honestly, I feel like if I ever did a psychedelic and didn't know I had taken it, by default I would freak the fuck out because it's outside of the norm. But like the number two thing also comes down to genetics, like
Right.
people just have different, just different brain biochemistry, like
right.
your receptors are different. Some people have like epilepsy in their genetics and shit. Some people have other neurological disorders. Some people like literally like with schizophrenia like can get very similar, like effects, and
because
it's just
because they have they have a higher amount of serotonin. And
Yeah, literally.
LSD and most psychedelics imitate serotonin and bind to those receptors.
yeah.
it's
So
actually pretty
you have
similar.
a H2A receptor in your head, and so the neurotransmitters that usually attach to that are serotonin and I think like dopamine and
Dopamine.
or nephrine, but
yeah.
I was gonna say something when you mentioned about taking a psychedelic and not knowing it, which happens quite often. Like if I were to take, I'm pretty sure if any of us were to eat, like, let's say you went to a friend's house and they didn't tell you that they made special cookies or special brownies or whatever, and you're just eating them like normal, you're gonna freak out because you're not in the know that these are just not your
also
average cookies.
edibles. When you ingest edibles, like you actually like eat them. So when you smoke it, you have THC in your body.
Right.
The moment it goes into your stomach because you ate an edible, you make a different molecule. And I think you add an extra. I forgot. You add something to the THC, but it actually becomes more visual psychedelic rather than just THC. So you're actually like consuming a completely different molecule whenever you eat an edible versus when you smoke weed. So
fascinating. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah, no, seriously. So that's why if people are like, oh, that's why whenever I eat edibles, the high is a lot longer and like feels different and stuff. Like you can actually get visuals from eating enough edibles and shit like that.
I hear horror stories about people that have eaten edibles.
I actually do have a horror story about
It's very hit and miss.
I've eaten edibles, but I've never had my worst horror story was what I mentioned in the
The
beginning.
issue with edibles, I feel like,
That was
is
bad.
it's really hard to control the dosage. Like most people buy edibles and stuff, and you got to remember they're making like really big batches in these factories and whatnot, and they don't have like the THC evenly, perfectly distributed throughout. So you might get like a container of gummies, and it might be strong as fuck, and then you might get one that doesn't feel like shit, And
They
it's
just
like,
dump that in there.
yeah, literally. And I'm not saying that like quality control doesn't do a good job, but just like when mixing anything and mass producing, like doing chemistry in a lab is one thing when you're focused on one thing, and even then it's really hard to get really like accurate results. But when you're mass producing like food or something, and something that has like a controlled substance or a chemical inside of it or something, it's really hard to get everything like perfect, especially whenever it comes to food and shit. So like I don't know, the issue with me and edibles, and this is why like I don't really fuck with them too much, is because I either don't feel shit or like I like overdo it. Like it's like really hard to like get that perfect dosage and just be like all right and chill, and I don't know. Yeah.
Crazy. I knew marijuana had some psychoactive elements, but I didn't know that the way you. I didn't know that. I didn't know
I
there
didn't know
was
that
a difference.
neither.
That exactly explains my first bad experience with edible.
You're like, I did
the stupid thing. I did the stupid thing that every person trying weed the first time does. I ate edibles. I said, "Oh, this isn't hitting. Maybe I should try more." Maybe I'm just like resistant to it or something so fucking
The
stupid.
very cliche thing to do.
My tolerance is really high. Yeah, no.
Oh,
literally.
this isn't hitting. Oh, this isn't. You just keep eating and eating it, and you're like, I'm an idiot. I'm so high right now.
Next thing you
and
know,
I'm not coming down.
And it was so funny. Man. But so LSD can be extremely powerful.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's enough to break people. It was used to break people. It was used from. They never
Right,
succeeded
yeah.
in mind control, but they did manage I think there was a quote even. He said, we were trying to do two things. We were trying to shatter the mind. We were trying to empty out your mind. And number two, replace it, the void with something. And he's like, we didn't get very far in number two, but we got very good at number one.
That scares me. They were trying to shatter the mind.
They were trying to shatter it.
Because I just imagine being captured by like the CIA and them drugging me with an absurd amount of
That's
LSD.
their coworkers, though. That's the shit that cracks me up. All right, if I'm getting tortured and shit, I'll like do your worst. But if like I'm over here with Sally and fucking she's over here like the fucking dragons are looking at me like I'm
scary.
Like I'm like, damn, bro. Like, yeah, that's really not a good work environment right there, or maybe a great work environment depending on the person.
I mean, it depends on who you are. Like maybe you're into that kind of thing.
But like
if it's a health hazard. Oh my God. And the real shame of it all is, and I know this shouldn't be the shame of it all, a lot of people's lives are ruined. Ice cream truck. A lot of lives are ruined. But what's really interesting is they didn't get an iota of scientific research.
That's
not a single bit of it was valuable.
It sounds like they were just drugging people. Someone up top was like, yo, let's just drug them and see what happens.
None of them were scientists.
Let's see what happens, man.
None of them were scientists. None of them were scientific observers. None of the things they did were scientific. Like, we got nothing valuable from all those lives.
I'm curious to know, like, who was the person that was just like, yo, let's just start drugging them with LSD and see what happens. Like, how do you get to that conclusion?
I don't know.
Get to that?
I know there was a lot of cover-ups.
All right, well, what I will say, though, is I don't know when this took place, but I know around the 1950s, that's when, so there's actually a doctor named Dr. Shulgin, and he basically like pioneered, like he's the guy that's responsible for MDMA and like a bunch of shit, which is also, psychedelic. And him and his wife, all right, he went to Harvard and Berkeley, and him and his wife literally synthesized over 250 new psychedelics, and they tested every single one on themselves and stuff. So I'm not sure when the timeline is, but I know at some point in time before like the 60s, before Vietnam, basically, it was more normal. Like, you know, psychedelics weren't yet that frowned upon. And there was actually like a lot of like research being done at big prestigious universities, and even Time Magazine put out an article, and basically,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and they were talking about like the benefits and shit. But you know, going back to what he was saying.
Well, then the CIA bought the entire world's
LSD
supply.
And then also
on people.
There was, and I'm not sure if those Dr. Shogun is related to this thing or anything, but I know there was a big wave of this thing coming around of people research literally. And then the Vietnam War came and stuff, and like, you know, like who was taking psychedelics, like the hippies and stuff. And I mean, this is all just a conspiracy theory, but it all like checks out because they'd done similar stuff in the past. But basically, like, one of the big theories is, like, you know, they were trying to turn the masses against the people that were protesting the war in Vietnam and stuff. So they started, like, kind of, you know, if you can take someone's credibility away, you can kind of make the masses against them and stuff. Right. So they started, like, really stigmatizing psychedelics and saying that they didn't have any medicinal use, that they didn't have any other uses. They criminalized them, they, you know, and everything. And,
Nixon,
like,
right?
I'm actually not sure. But, it doesn't sound that far off because, like, earlier, like, they did that to, like, the Asian immigrants, like, in San Francisco. They made opiates illegal, and, you know, they wanted to stir the masses against them, and stigmatize them and shit, and be like, oh, these people are bad. And they made opiates illegal. Then they did the same with the Mexicans when they made cannabis illegal and stuff. Like, literally, like, and then the crazy thing about the Mexicans, I'm Mexican, I'm like, the Mexicans. But, yeah, no, like,
wasn't the crack epidemic?
We're running out of time.
Black people. Yeah. No, keep going. Yeah,
okay.
Just finish your thing.
So,
really
fast. Yeah. So, like, you know, like the Mexican Revolution happened. All right. So, like, there's been like mass deportations and stuff. And, like, low key, back in the day, the U.S. used to be like, oh, come in here whenever there was like wars, and then they would get a mass immigration into the United States. And once they no longer needed like labor and shit, they would like mass deport a bunch of people, and they did that during the Polk era. And then fast forward to like 1910, there was another giant migration of Hispanics coming into the United States and blah, blah, blah. And then they got deported again. But this goes back to like, you know, like, during one of the later on deportations, that's when they like criminalized cannabis, and because they needed to like stigmatize the people against the, you know, Hispanics or just Mexicans in general, more specifically, I mean. And they were like, oh, these guys smoke weed, you know. They said it gave them superhuman strength and shit. And
We're
like,
out of time.
Yeah,
Sorry,
my
I'm
camera's
sorry.
gonna shut off.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
You're good.
Moral of the story is psychedelics and just drugs in general have been used by powerful people to destroy others. So be careful. Just in general, be in a safe environment. We're probably going to talk about this again someday. He's a wonderful guest. And like, comment, subscribe. We'll tag his information. Sources will be down below. Thank you so much for watching.